a better understanding of what a review is, I put together certain points to understand or compare what it is and what it isn't. I believe if we know what literature review should not be, what it is not, we would be able to better identify what a literature review is and ideally what it should be. So, beginning on a positive note, I say a literature review should be a scientific synthesis of available literature. In contrast, it should not be simply an annotated bibliography. We all in the field of research understand that an annotated bibliography does not serve the purpose of an exhaustive literature review. A critical evaluation of ideas of others is what a literature review is. In comparison, it is not simply a gist of all studies which you have included. Many of the novice in the field of research, many of the amateur students do blunders when they simply put together some studies which they found in their amateur search of literature and simply put them together and come to us saying this is our literature review. So, it should not be a simple gist, a simple collection of all studies. It should rather be all that is breadth and depth. It should be comprehensive, covering all breadth and depth of the available literature. We commit a blunder when we keep it narrow, when we keep it shallow. We say that before diving deep, if we know how deep is the pool, we will be able to guard our strategy better. We will be able to dive better. Does not mean that we will not take the plunge. We cannot keep ourselves withdrawn if a body of literature in a particular area is quite broad. We would want that we understand the broad dimensions and then we take a plunge, even if then it is a selective plunge. It is built around all identified ideas and theories. I repeat and I correct myself. We do not want that every theory and every rule which has been mentioned in your selected area should be covered in review. If you are going for a comprehensive review, we can justify if we restrict ourselves to one single theory, if we are able to provide a basis for it. If we are able to define that out of the available theories, my review, my study is limited to this particular theory, or I am contrasting this theory with this specific theory. Like in governance field, the broad theories which have been identified from the beginning times are agency theory, stewardship theory, and so many over the course of time. So if I as a researcher say that I am undertaking my research in governance, but I am taking an agency theory perspective, in that case I am justifying my review. But mind you, a literature review is not a random inclusion of any study. I found this in my first search, so I am reviewing it. It is we who are going to make sense that this is important, I should build on this, and this is not important, I should discard it. So, being diligent, being very choosy that it should relate to our topic is what a researcher is required to do while reviewing the literature. A good, an ideal, a comprehensive literature review should breed clarity. We cannot attempt in a vague manner. A confusing and haphazard orientation is nothing but a creation of a pool of confusion. And if confusion erupts at this stage, mind you, it will flow all through. A rigorous and consistent approach, which means rigorous researching, rigorous review, and rigorous critical analysis is what makes literature review effective. But an arbitrary approach, an undirected approach, an exercise simply to complete it is not at all justifiable when you are pointing out when you are looking forward to be regarded as a serious researcher. An effective literature review is inclusive of all kinds of material, all kinds of literature. It includes the journals, good academic journals, some books on the topic, online studies, online articles. It also includes if sometimes it is just a piece of literature. It is not just academic journals. The students generally restrict themselves to understanding, to analyzing only the journal articles. But mind you, in that process, we miss out some very pertinent information, some latest developments which may be making a big change in our area of research. Including only academic journals is what a literature review should not be. It should be comprehensive, including all types of literature to make it comprehensive, rigorous and wholesome. A critique of past works, keeping the present intent intact, is what a good literature review is. But it is not an expression of personal liking and disliking. We are not here to express that this personally I like and this I do not like. We need to be unbiased in our approach. We need to follow the literature like an unparalleled approach where we analyze the things with an unbiased mind. It aids in developing and supporting a new argument. A good literature review is one which is built around a good, logical, sound, scientific argument. But it is not just criticizing prior works so that we can justify your work. Here I would mention that some of the students come to us where they simply replicate some of the articles published earlier and try to portray them as their own innovative work. But mind you, in present times of strict guidelines on plagiarism, with all regulators looking at those who are flouting the norms on plagiarism, would take you hard. They take you task if you do not follow the policies and do not simply dare to replicate others' work and take the credit for it. We need to simply imbibe the idea and then produce it in our context and see how we can add the newer strands of literature to it. This takes me to the idea that many a times people commit errors, which is very common. As they say, to err is human. But we must know our mistakes. We must learn from our mistakes because sometimes the present and those who are analyzing or judging us may not be that benevolent. They may not be that pardoning. So let us understand what are the common errors which we commit while we are conducting literature review. It is simply to understand what we should not be doing so that our journey, our total process of review of literature comes out as a good, satisfying experience. It is very important to understand that a common error which we make is that it is not logically organized. Whatever, even if you are compiling the studies according to the age-old, cliched method of chronological order, even then try to build a common argument. Try your discussion in the review to flow in a logical manner from the earlier studies to the new studies. Mind you, there your mentor would also not mind if you have logic running even in a chronologically analyzed, chronologically organized literature review. And review should not only be focused on some important facets of the study. We always say that whenever you are reviewing, review with an open mind. Even if in the review you have identified that my area is going to be focused on this specific area, even then you should talk about all facets. Maybe you put special focus on the facet which is of interest, which is going to be covered in your study. It should never be that you keep on including studies in your literature review only to increase the number, only to find in the end that they are all irrelevant. If not all, major of them are relevant. It is important that the literature which you are conducting review which you are gathering for your research, it should be all related. Alright, sometimes it could be directly related, sometimes the relation could be indirect, but the relation aspect should not miss. In that case, it will become a missing link and would not have a common thread running through all of your review. It is very important that whenever you write literature review, it should be in your own words. We Indians, or we otherwise, take pride in simply picking up the best of lines from the good works of people and present them as our art, present them as our innovation. But it is simply an exercise in cut, copy, paste, and we will never get the credit for what we are imbibing from others' ideas.